All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Coach's Corner. Don't mind me and Bam's voice. We just got back from MomoCon, so it might be a little raspy, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, it was a very hyped tournament, and Light was able to take it with Fox. So another tournament under the belt for Fox McCloud here, and I just wanted to kind of go over the Fox meta. I mean, a lot of it will be talking about more so how like Light and Man play. I feel like those are pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to Fox, and there's not too many other Foxes. Like we have like Luis's Pocket Fox for certain matchups, but other than that, it's really Light and Man, especially Light, really hold the bar for the character. So I guess before we get into that, I kind of want to go over what the community thought about Fox in the earlier parts of the meta in Ultimate, and to even go into that, we have to talk about Smash 4 Fox. So just to kind of give you guys, I know not everyone has really joined the Smash Ultimate community, from wherever. So if you don't know the history of Fox, we're gonna go over it. So Smash 4 Fox, a very relevant character. A lot of people would put Fox in like their top five or at least top 10, right? Absolutely monster of a character. I'm not gonna go into the exact reasons why, but essentially, the reasons why Fox were strong in Smash 4, they took a lot of that stuff away, and you had to play Ultimate Fox very different from Smash 4 Fox. And I think that's why we had that initial knee jerk reaction of like, Fox sucks. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of them. I now, like, around when quarantine started, I started believing that Fox would be solo main and win tournaments. Like, I started believing in the character. But before that, I was just like, Fox sucks. I played Wolf. I was like, this character's so bad. How do you lose this character? Blah, blah. So, I mean, what was your guys', I guess, first initial thoughts of Fox? And all of us, were really into Smash 4, so we knew. Like, were you on the same boat? Because I definitely was on that boat of like, I was trying to play Smash 4 Fox in the Ultimate Engine, and it just wasn't really working because of all the nerfs they did to like up tilt not two framing and all that jazz. So yeah, what do you guys think?
So for me personally, I took the same criteria that you thought Steve was bad by, applied that to Fox, and thought Fox is just going to be good anyways, just because he has some of the best movement stats in the game, as he always does.
Yeah.
So I kind of have like this class of characters where their additional mobility relative to the rest of the cast is just so much higher that regardless of what the game engine is, the character is just always going to be good. And even when there's extenuating factors where his strengths aren't actually that great, like in Brawl, I would say Brawl is probably the worst he's been in the series because the game engine just wasn't kind to him. But even in that game, like eventually people figured out how to utilize his mobility, and the character still ended up being a relevant character by the end of the game, uh, despite multiple metagame characters just having auto win buttons on him, like just because he doesn't have to be there. So I think that characters like Fox, Bayonetta, et cetera, are just always going to be good no matter what game they go into, just because of that factor. Uh, I will say that my recollection of the beginning of Ultimate is that every Spacey was doing something or other, just because all of the best Spacey players happen to play all of the Spaceys, and mostly on the West Coast where you guys are, obviously, since we had like Larry, we had Charlie, uh, we have obviously Void, and like you mentioned before, Luis. So there's all these players who over there who can play all of the Spaceys and play them well. And so there, I just remember Larry changing his opinion on which Spacey was the best Spacey every single week,
Yeah,
or at
good
least it
memes.
felt that way. So, and I always respect Larry's opinions on Spaceys since he's kind of got over a decade of experience playing the archetype. So, what did you think, Ramses?
I was with Charles. I think I didn't really believe in Fox at the beginning of the game. A large part of that was due to Scarfeld. Not to deflect blame, but you guys know Scarfeld. He was,
So
So
I
uh,
do.
much.
he,
So
yeah,
I
much.
do.
he was the Fox labber in Smash 4,
Mm-hmm.
and the degree to which he optimized Fox was actually kind of insane. So Fox in Smash 4 had like insane combo routes and branches in his combo routes, and like little outplays you could implement, reactions, etc., etc. And Scarfo was kind of on the forefront of that. And he picked up ultimate, and it was all gone, and the game blew. Like no Fox in this game. Which I mean, fair enough. You can no longer forward air futsu someone and kill him at 20 to compensate for your lack of skill. Um,
Right, right.
But as we know now, the character's still good. But anyway, I was right there with him. I was like, okay, no more full hop dare, no more fair footstool. Whereas the down air jab lock conversions, up tilt doesn't two frame really anymore. Like this character sucks ass. But yeah, at the same time, I had Leffen yelling that Falco was the best character in the game. If you guys
I
remember that
remember
tier
that.
list,
Yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah.
course.
The
yeah,
legendary tier list.
that
Yeah.
was beautiful. So yeah, and I was playing PT, who I think especially early on just did really well against Fox just by virtue of Squirtle destroying Fox off stage. Um, so yeah, overall I had a really bad opinion on Fox, and I feel like for most people there wasn't really something that could prove that wrong because of course Light is doing really well now. Passeriman getting some awesome wins as of late as well. And as of late I mean like post quarantine basically. But before that, like Light was struggling, right? He was in the position that Mars kind of is right now, where like, you know, they're good, they're good, they have the skill, but it looks like their character is kind of like holding them back. And I think especially what Charles mentioned with like the other species kind of like taking up that slot because like Falco had better combos and Wolf had better neutral. Why would you ever play Fox? Um, it's one of those cases where I don't think it's like people deliberately underrated Fox, but it's more like because you didn't see any Fox, there's no reason to assume the character is, like special in any sort of way. That was kind of my opinion of Fox early on.
Yeah, so for me, it's interesting because obviously, I play with Charles a lot from time to time. Also, like obviously it's like a pocket, but like, Void has his like pocket at Fox too, and I know he's always like, thought the character was pretty solid. Larry, interesting enough, like whenever I would play him too, I'd play through like a lot of his spacies, and time and time again, I always felt like the Fox was like the one that personally gave me like a rough time, and I'd just see kind of options, and me being a like ex Sonic main, I felt kind of similar, just as Fox is with Sonic, where it's like this character still has base stats are crazy. The fact that this like game, like the global mechanics, like how dashing is in this game, like that's got to be hella good. Then you're looking at kind of how air dodges are, right, and then how damn good neutral air dodges, right, and how juggling situations are, and now can kind of get away. And then also like, I heard people like, oh, the combo game, right? Like you said, perfect example. Like Scarfell, like was someone that I always kind of looked to as well as when it came to labbing Fox as a character, and was one kind of the main labbers I would kind of keep tabs on and kind of talk with about certain things too. And I kind of saw that from him. I saw that from Charlie as well. But then, like I'd see there was like, oh, there's no way you can ever hit a dare, and I see some people every now and then getting some dares. I see some people labbing some stuff bit in here, and I'm like, oh, that's doing some solid damage. It's not Falco damage, but that's still doing like pretty damn good damage. He still has a like a viable up smash in this game, which is like I think it's important in terms of like how Auto Shield was like bad in comparison to other characters, right? And it's like then you're looking at the neutral. Yeah, it's not Wolf neutral, but like the character is hella fast, dude. Like this character is just obscenely fast, and I've just felt that it's. I felt at the time it was one of those situations where, and this is kind of to like everyone's point, right? You just didn't see a ton of foxes, and it's like at the time, not everyone was optimizing their combo game. So you had either like Falco just had kind of like a very easy combo game at the gate because obviously it's like combo games just like insane, right? So he's just doing a ton of damage, whatever, right? And then it's like, so I can just do that, sham wow someone because they don't know how to play neutral yet in Ultimate. They don't understand the goal mechanics, so I'm just gonna be like waving around and I just do up tilt and I just hit you for a billion damage, right? Like, hey, cool, right? Then you go to Wolf, right? Wolf, yeah, he's not like is he he has a combo game too, but it's not like Falco, it's not like Fox, like. But the thing about it is like for Wolf, it's like, oh, I'm tech chasing you down smash and killing you at like 50 when people weren't even teching or doing whatever, right? They they weren't even dying up on certain situations. So it just felt like that Wolf and Falco were just better suited for the early game, and that's kind of how I always saw it. For Fox, I just felt like there's no way Fox can actually be bad, and I felt like he's like the perfect hybrid in terms of what this other species can do, and I just thought like, man, I feel like people just aren't there yet. And again, to my point, like I felt very similar about like Sonic, where people aren't there yet, and everyone's very much like, oh, I'm looking from my Smash 4 goggles, and I'm like, I'm hearing people complain about Fox, and then I'm getting bodied by them, dude. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Some of these tools look kind of good, dude. Like, I don't know. I think we're going to get better in time. We'll see it. I see some combos here and there that haven't been translated into the meta, but like once that's happening, I think this character could be actually strong. So,
Well, that's kind of
my
New
wild with
England in a nutshell, isn't it? Like all of their characters were Smash 4 top tiers, and then when Ultimate came out, Zero Suit, Fox, Cloud, these were all characters. Oh yeah, this character's just dead in the water, and then a few months later we figured it out.
yeah.
A few years. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to remember the best player of the world is ZD at Xanadu, and he's been doing that since Ultimate came out.
True,
With Fox, so,
true.
uh,
ZD has a Xanadu, undefeated.
Yes. That character is a monster.
Okay, he's insane.
ZD gets going. Oh goodness.
Ever seen MK Leo beat ZD at a Xanadu? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the true test. That's the true test. And even I like that we're kind of talking about the early meta of Ultimate as well, because I think a lot of people were looking at the base game mechanics where it's like, oh, okay, so everyone has way less ending lag, right? That was a very blessed thing to have in Smash 4. In fact, you weren't a top tier unless you had practically auto cancel aerials, right? If you did not have that, your aerials had a lot of lag on them, and then pretty much everybody had way less lag on their moves. So I was looking at like the general kind of scope of things. I definitely had my Smash 4 goggles on, but at the same time, like, okay, well, like everyone has auto L cancel on their aerials now, right? Like now Fox and Sheik aren't that, like, they don't have that uniqueness in them anymore, because everyone's,
that, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And that was like a really big thing everyone was looking at. And of course the early meta was like everyone running at each other and throwing out their hitbox, right? Like,
Yep.
Genesis 6, watch the gameplay, everyone's running at each other throwing out hitboxes. And like, I mean, Void got second, right? Void is a player that's very good. If you're running at each other and throwing a hitbox, Void will thrive in that kind of environment, right? I mean, obviously Leo still won that tournament, but it, like, just the general meta wasn't that campy yet. And even then, Leo was one of the people that was like playing a sword character and like spacing. So he was kind of like a bit ahead of the meta, moving around, right? And then he had Ike. He was really like pacing everyone and kind of showing them like, oh hey, like, he caught on to the game so quick and was like, okay, I'm using movement, I'm using spacing, and then he's obviously, Ike's not like a top tier, but since he just understood the game so quick, he's like, okay, I can get away with this for like whatever, how long, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then obviously we kind of started learning how to play the game as a community, right? Like the game's movement base. I know a big one for Fox players was illusion, not crossing up shield. So Fox, not having cross up shield on illusion, and also being way lighter, right? So Fox has had to finally learn how to get off the ledge without illusioning through shield, right? We had to go through that. I remember like the first month of Ultimate, I'm just like trying to play Fox. I'm like, man, I really just got off the ledge for free in Smash 4 my entire career. Like, I never just had to actually deal with this situation. And then I'm just getting ledge trapped. I'm like, wow, I am so bad at this game. Like, it's crazy.
I played Falco and Brawl. I was the same thing. You just get on a ledge, illusion through them. Falco
good.
had it even better. That illusion was, or Phantasm was absolutely broken. So yeah, I'm right there with you. And then the Fox players figured out that if you illusion the top corner of someone's shield, you cross them up anyway. Yeah. So now it was a 50-50.
And now, like, abusing things like Firefox as well, because you, like, Foxes, you have to realize that if you main Fox throughout multiple games, it's embedded in your head that you generally go for illusion first, and Firefox is a death sentence against good players. But in Ultimate, Firefox is a bigger hitbox, so some characters, it's either like they just can't contest Firefox, or they have to be like really, really on point to contest Firefox. But if you look at older games like, you know, Brawler Smash 4, or even Melee, right? Like you can contest Firefox, I wouldn't say for free, but way easier than Ultimate, right? So even Fox is kind of being like, oh, this character, go for these like dip down Firefox. I have like some angle mix-ups, right? My Firefox is really big. If they don't tech, they get hit, and they don't tech, they'll die at 30. Like, you know, all the meme stuff, right? So, and even playing
the free fall,
even playing a more aggressive, like, I feel like everyone's like, oh, shielding kind of sucks, but then in the beginning of Ultimate, but Fox is one of those characters that the shield is really strong alongside with the movement speed, right? So and they made up smash like bigger. That like the scoop was a lot larger. So Fox actually having one of the better out of shield games in this game that KOs as well, right? So I feel like again the main thing was kind of learning how to play Ultimate Fox, and I think where Light is at now is a very good interpretation of how you should be playing Ultimate Fox. Obviously, you have to be playing very fast, but even the way I'll go over it like way more in depth when we get to that. I also want to go over just changes that happened to Fox, like in terms of patches. Fox is actually a character that did not get touched that much, but there was two major things that they fixed that buffed him. So for some reason, his shield animation on the first frame of his shield would be ultimate shield animation. But if Fox's shield got hit once, he would stand up straight and his ears would perk out of the shield because it was his Smash 4 shield animation. I guess they like didn't change it, but it was only on multi hits. So jab jab power dunk, for example, on a full shield, if Fox did not angle it up, you would automatically get shield poked. That's why Wario was very hard in the beginning of Ultimate for Fox because Wario would approach him with Nair, and then the later hits of Nair would actually shield poke through Fox, even if he was angling his shield up. Like it was really bad. That was
fucked up.
that
That's
yes,
just fucked up. That's a guard break.
Yeah.
very it was very
I
hard.
liked that iteration of the game a lot.
Dude, Fox got jammed.
Fox hater.
I know.
I wasn't just Fox. It was other fun characters like Olimar, who was notoriously just couldn't block anything, and I was like, this is great. I think Game Watch was in there too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can't remember all
return.
the shields, but I know Olimar and Fox for sure. Olimar actually took longer to fix. Fox got fixed pretty, decently early, and then they buffed his down air around quarantine, sometime during quarantine. I don't know exactly when.
10.1, yeah, that's
Yeah,
about.
so they
that's about
fixed
the
it.
start of
So
quarantine.
that's another thing that like I think in the beginning of the game, it's another thing that's like very frustrating to try and like pick Fox and say he's good because you're getting shield poked. You're dying from these shield pokes at like 50%, 40% because Wario shield poked you with Nair because you didn't angle your shield up perfectly and you're dying at like 30 or 40 to a WAF confirm, right? Imagine that happening in tournament game 5, right? All these like frustrating things. You cannot down air for a parry mix up because the move just doesn't work. So the changes to Fox, I won't say were like inc- actually I will say they were really pivotal for the character. Like if we still had that version of Fox, I don't think Light would be doing the things he's doing. Like maybe he would, but that shield thing is huge. And how many times do you see Light use down air to get parry mix-ups and he kills them for it? Because remember before down air would not work. Like it wouldn't fully connect into each other. So sometimes you'd be negative on hit, or sometimes you would like just hit them and it wouldn't hit them far away enough, and you would essentially reset neutral, but you're like kind of close to them, right? But now down air works, so you hit down air, you can combo in an up smash, or you get a tech chase. That is a really, really big deal, and I think those two changes were insanely pivotal for Fox to be solo mained at the very least, because some of his harder matchups, especially the shield poke one, they became a lot more doable, and then like the downer one is just across every matchup, right? Because the shield poke one is not that crazy if you're not going against like multi-hit shield poking moves, but the downer one, in my opinion, and this is why I feel like Wolf is like, I wouldn't say kind of falling off, but people are getting a lot better against Wolf, is because when Wolf a lot of his aerials that he's poking with and he's falling down are frame 7, so the timing is all similar, right? So your parry window to hit like against Nair or Fair, it's the exact same timing, right? Does he have a multi-hit move to punish your parry attempt? No, he doesn't. What Wolf has to punish your parry attempt is like a tomahawk into something else, right? But it's not an aerial. So when you have different timing aerials like Fox with frame 9 back air, frame 4 nair, you also have sour nair, and then you also have a down air that creates the same situation as nair. That is very important that move works, because now going for a parry is so risky versus Fox, because both nair and dare lead to the same shit essentially, right? So
Let's not forget that he also has like a top 3 short hop in the game, arguably,
and the fast
best,
falling
right?
too,
Yes,
right? So
fast
it's like
falling.
So broken.
it's like I'm saying that down air was like the final ingredient in the formula to just be like, okay, this is super, like it was already fucked up, obviously, like already that's like really strong, but that like covers almost every single base in terms of like when you, because in my opinion Fox's main win condition is falling on top of you. Like if Fox gets above you and he is in a position where like you don't have enough time to throw out an anti-air because you're like in shield, you locked yourself in shield because you were like maybe scared of a dash attack or something. Now Fox positioned above you, you're still in shield. What do you do, right? Like that scenario is Fox's best case scenario. If you're able to set up that scenario against someone like multiple times, you should win like the stock or the game or whatever, right? So that I just wanted to go over the changes because I do think those changes were really important to how the character operates. So what do you guys
Yeah.
think about the changes for Fox?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree that they were important. I mean, I think that, like you said, for Dare, it really kind of closed out that kind of that vacancy there. I think regardless, he was like pretty powerful in terms of like what he could do there. But I think as people got better with pairing, like over time, then it's like yeah, it became more important where you had these multi-hit aerials that you can have change ups on, right? And then having that fast fall included and everything too, then it really kind of completes the whole kit. I think general too, something kind of like also like just in their recovery too, like just seeing like Foxes do like high illusion now, like actually being something that's like worth of merit because you can go do neutral air dodge, fast fall, and those kind of things too. That's another thing I think that was a big proponent. And like Fox is now understanding where they had more recovery mix-ups than they ever had before, right? I think that you had a situation early on where it's like you said, like they didn't know how to get off the ledge unless they were illusioning. So like, it was just always like double jump illusion and like, they would just get bopped. But then also too, it's like you always think that I just have to illusion there because if I illusion high or whatever, I'm just floating down and free fall. But it's like, nope, not in this game. Like I'm jumping, I'm doing whatever now. So it it was definitely a paradigm shift. Like it's an understandable paradigm shift, you know. Um, but yeah, I do think that dare is important, and as always, shield is going to be important. Like if you're not going to be able to shield and stuff like that, then like that shit sucks. Like there's so many things in this game now, so many kind of like pseudo box strings, and like frame traps. And it's like if you're a character now that just outright just gets hit by these multi hits, like dude, get jammed. Like that's rough. That sucks.
Yeah. I think the changes, I mean, of course, the changes were impactful. I think the most impactful thing for Fox, in my eyes, is more of a metagame change, which a little bit like a patch. I think when people started realizing that in this game, the best way to beat shields is by shield poking and pressuring low shields. I think that's what opened up a lot of doors for Fox. Because shielding, as much as some may disagree, shielding is insane in this game, in my opinion. In the sense that it just covers so many options. It covers all options except grab to some degree. Unless you get caught by a by-left back air and now your shield is too small to cover all parts of your body. And I think it's very similar for Fox where, yeah, yay, one back air and you can no longer
All
shield.
it takes, yeah.
But it's very similar for Fox where like he can get like a safe hit on your shield and that can be like an air or it can even be a couple of lasers. It can even be the threat of dash attack reducing the size of your shield, and now his nair is gonna poke your shield. And it's actually, in my opinion, I don't know if this is true, Charles, but in my opinion and experience, his nair is pretty good at poking shields. Yeah, especially because of Fox's qualities, where he's such a fast faller that because of that he actually doesn't drift too much, so it gets a little bit easier to decide exactly where you want your nair to land because you have less control, which means that you can only go one place, right? Whereas if you have more drift, you might drift a little bit too much or not enough, etc. Which makes it a little bit easier to target corners as well. Same for like the down air. And I think the down air change kind of complemented that, where if your shield is low, you're now scared of like this shield poke. If you're busy angling your shield, you're gonna get tomahawked, right? Like I don't know a single player that has the presence of mind to both angle your shield and do parry option selects. I might be wrong with that, but I've never met them. And I feel like for Fox especially, because his tomahawk game is so strong, and because his shield poke game is so strong, like you no longer need to go for those grabs. And I know like his grabs are not bad, right? Especially because his advantage state is so lethal. But not having to grab is so much more powerful than having a strong grab in the first place.
I agree. I agree very much.
And I think that is like, if I look at both Light and Passeriman, that's where I see the most improvement, where Light is a little bit more on the side of, oh, your shield's low. All right, let me fuck you up for not being able to shield. Whereas Pasariamon is more like, oh, your shield's low. Now I'm gonna make sure you cannot move into my position, and because you cannot shield and you cannot move into my position, you're in this like awkward limbo where you have to like move defensively, but like you don't feel comfortable doing so against Fox, and you get like that indirect pressure. And I think like that expression, like it kind of goes back to Charles's point where, or I'm sorry, Tony's point where like a character with that many movement options will inherently be good because they can both play that like defensive style where they can be at so many places at once, as well as the aggressive style where they can force you to deal with a mix-up. And yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing based on the way these players handle shields, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just want to side note before you get into it, Tony. Like, but I was like, I'm really glad that Ramsey that you're bringing up that shield too. Like, I feel like there's so many times I would hear people just like, dude, this Fox man, just shield, bro, just shield.
He cannot
Just
kill
shield.
you.
I'm like, dude, like it's that whole concept of people where they're just like, oh, if just because your character does all attacks, shield is always just gonna beat attacks. Like, for a little bit, it will. Then you're in shit because now you don't have a shield. And if the character is fast, they're going to catch you, and you don't have a shield, right? And so I always thought that ideology was so silly, where it's like, oh, you can just shield against this character, dude, and it's like no problem. It's like, all right, dude.
It's a very short-term way of looking at it.
It's very short-term.
It's gonna help you.
It's a resource. It's a resource. It's not there
in that
forever.
sense, yeah, and I mean in that sense, it's also like good against Fox because it gives you like an extra interaction where he has to be like somewhat correct, right? So I'm not gonna deny that shield is no longer good against Fox, but the more strategically the Fox think about the shield issue, the less impactful shield becomes as a counterplay option. Anyway, I know Tony is like, oh, I'm going to be talking for at least 30 minutes now.
Get it, Tony. Get it in, man.
Take it away, brother. I'm ready for it.
Oh, not at all. Honestly, so to be clear, I've spent the last 24 hours doing a lot of studying of Light's, Fox in particular. So the what I was gonna say is just kind of compliment everything you guys have said so far. Like a lot of the conclusions I've come to ultimately come down to the same things. What I would like to focus on though is where Light diverges from a lot of the top 10 players' modern trends. So we're seeing a lot of people learn to deal with the nuance of how you use your landing aerials and when you use your landing aerials, like specifically where you're landing with them, how you're drifting with them, things like that. And so for a lot of characters, there is a very big difference between getting like that Cloud -3, -4 back air and getting that Cloud -6 back air, because it takes him so long to set up his follow-up situation. So if he's going for a pair of back airs, if you get that parry on the back air, in addition to Cloud putting that back air high up, you're going to have enough time to attack him before his second back air can come out if he's being so predictable. Fox doesn't have that problem for two reasons. First, like you gentlemen mentioned, his fast fall and short hop stats are so exceptional that what is going to add like 3-4 frames to a suboptimal landing aerial for most characters is only going to add maybe 2 frames to his. And then on top of that, the things that Fox puts out are just great across the board. So I think the least safe thing he had, well, obviously his down air isn't safe at being -14, but everything else, like even his up air is pretty safe. Like it's what you would expect from a safer sword character, it being like -9 his up air is. And we even see Light use that on block, is he'll specifically whiff an up air above somebody's shield and fall into them, so that if they did try and jump, they get hit by the up air, and then he'll try and drift back. And then he mixes up where he drifts, he mixes up what he does after he drifts. So he tries spacing around people, landing in different spots, and that goes into what Charles was talking about with the down air. So the most common way I try to explain Light's rotations to people is that he has beat 1, and then he'll relocate. He'll attack twice, and then he'll relocate. And if you are thinking, oh, I'm just going to parry the first hit and then chase him when he relocates, you're going to get hot by his... and then his third mix-up is he'll just do an attack, and then he'll put out a slower attack for his double tap. Like that's where you'll see him, especially on like his ledge trapping, you'll see him go for a back air to cover the ledge jump, and then he'll forward smash. And if you were expecting him to back air, and you're trying to hit his second back air, this is all happening too fast for a human to react to. And so when you're playing against a character this fast, you generally have to make these assumptions, kind of chunk what Light is going for or what Fox is going for. And you have to make these reads, and you have to pre-commit to these reads. And so essentially playing against Light and Fox is just almost strictly. And so every Smash character kind of plays their own game.
Strictly what?
I would say that Light makes Ultimate into just a pure rhythm game.
Okay.
And so when you're playing against Light, you have to focus on the rhythm of what he's doing, like the beat of his drum. And he's good at making people play into the beat of his drum. And then on top of that, he's also good at mixing up his own beat in order to throw off his opponent, to bait them into covering things. And as Leo, I believe, mentioned on Twitter to Sonics, he does have patterns for how he looks for these things, which I won't go into on air because that'd be a bit disrespectful. But the idea, though, is that you want to look at these rotations and you want to look at where he's rotating them, because he has such a, how should I say this? He mixes them up in a systemic way, but he tends to not repeat himself specifically. So, like when he wants to hit your shield with back air up tilt, what he'll do is he'll mix up empty land up tilt. He'll mix up crossing up your shield with that up air that I mentioned earlier above your shield, and then he'll land behind you in up tilt. So even though he just wants to up tilt you and get that combo starter, the way he's going to go about it to set that up is it's just got such a nice rotation that it doesn't really catch your eye. Like the human mind is not going to perceive the patterns to it unless you're specifically going through watching his matches, writing it down on paper, and actually looking at the chains of like, what are his goals here? And I think that's what really sets Light apart from every other Fox. Because I want to be clear that at MomoCon, where Light recently won the whole event, there was another high-level Fox at the event that we haven't mentioned. His name is Comet. And for example, I believe Light practiced with fellow New Englander who is a Sonic player, Craftus, to prepare for Sonics as Sonic. And then Sonics was practicing with Comet, who is a Sonic killer over on the West Coast. And as we saw in the match, Light absolutely floored Sonics. And it's not that there's just some huge skill gap between them as players. It's that Light went in there better prepared for it, just because there is a much smaller gap between the top Sonics than the top North American Foxes. And so because you have that gap, you can't play against just any Fox and be prepared for Light. You have to prepare for Light. You can't go in there with the Fox matchup. That's just not enough anymore. You can't just have your edgeguard game on point and then go in there and expect to edgeguard Light. That's just not how that works. And it's because he understands the rhythm of your expectations, and he's so good at subverting them. It's similar to how we see Spargo recovering around people so fluidly and so consistently. He knows what time you want to go out. He's good at reading the rhythm for when your follow-ups are. Even in top 8, he was still mashing out of hit stun to jump in and attack you as soon as he could, because he realized that you were frame negative on your hit. Like I believe DeBuzz's Min, DeBuzz literally put out a forward air 3 times in a row to hit Light's jump 3 times in a row, and then Light jumped in and hit him anyways. Yep. And it's because eventually DeBuzz's timing on that forward air, knowing exactly what Light wanted, was just slightly off, and his punishes just weren't hard enough to push Light out. And so Light just said, listen, I'm just going to brute force this with you. I showed you this tempo, and then on the 4th beat, I'm going to switch it up. And that's exactly what he did. And then he got in, and then he just did his thing. He hits people. He reads what they're going to do and when they're going to do it, and he kind of just gets in the zone and focuses on the rhythm of the game. So that's my personal perception of it. I think that another thing that has really changed about the game over time is that Fox has kind of died off as a meta character. And so people are less familiar with Fox as a matchup. I'm not really going to – I'm not going to stand in front of you and say, yeah, that person who's in top 8 of a major every single month is just nobody was ready for that character. But that's kind of where it is. It's just a matter of there is no second Fox on his level.
I mean, I just like adding to that. It's like, dude, literally verbatim, like Light was even saying that to me and Charles, right? Like when we were at MomoCon, he straight up was just like, yeah, it's funny because people will go and they'll like practice with other Foxes. And he's like, dude, but that's not me. Like,
That
it's
ain't
not
me,
even
though.
close. Yeah, he's just straight up was just like, it's not me. So like, it's funny because I know they're practicing with other foxes, and it's like I'm not doing that shit, so I don't even care. Like, he's like, I just go ahead and do my thing, right? And yeah, again, like great points, like by you, Tony, talking about like his overall tempo, right? Because he is so good about that, right? And it is like it's light understanding the ultimate strength of his character, where this character's stats just all around, he's just so damn fast, right? And it's so these things where it's like you said, when that character is moving around you and someone knows how to apply that character, you literally just have to guess. Like they're in their vicinity, everything's a burst, right? Like everything's a burst to you at that point, right? Whether they're falling on you, or they're not, whether they're going to set up. I mean, heck, we saw it to the point where we saw the Buzz, right? And the Buzz got hit by the fake Trump bear like 4 times in a row, right? Literally 4 times in a row. And it's just like the character's just too fast. Like, he's like trying to like, oh wait, and it's like not you. You literally just have to bet. Like, and it's just funny because it felt like the Buzz was like trying to like, I'm gonna react to it and choose the right option. It's like, dude, it's too damn fast. And he looked like a fool. But it's like I understand the underlying reason, but it's like that's light, right? And light recognizes that and moves on that tempos. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think the interesting underlying point that you're making, Bam, is that like a lot of Fox stuff is like semi-reactable. Like you can react to Fox dashing in and then going for something like burst range.
Mhm.
And what you don't like, most Foxes don't like position themselves into their burst range and then start to mix you up, because Fox is kind of bad when that delay is present in his game plan because of his lack of range. So more often than not, like you can react to the fact that Fox is dashing in, but you cannot react meaningfully. It's not like you can say, oh, Fox is dashing in, here's my hitbox that's gonna stop him from approaching me. Most of the time you react to him dashing in, and then you maybe get to like shield or roll or full hop away to avoid the mix-up. And it's kind of similar to Spargo in that regard. Like you can react to Spargo short hopping into you and going for a cloud back air, but in the time that you have, like realistically, the best you're gonna get is maybe a roll back into center. And that's what Light is abusing. And then you get back to what Charles is saying. It's like, okay, he's dashing at you. You're trying to react because burst range. Then you get stuck in shield, and he gets to land on you, and then he gets to, whittle away at your shield, or mix you up with multi-hits, or empty land, or, yada, yada, yada. And I think that nuance is also why the rhythm is such an important part for Light, because the space is something that he covers so effortlessly that the space is way less relevant, right? It's kind of like, instead of it being a lot of like minor chunks of spaces that he can occupy, it's more like general areas that he can move through in no time. And if you compare it to something like Leo, like the way Leo shines is that he can identify like the smallest differences in space and adjust his spacing to basically be near perfect, right? So Leo very much about like, okay, how do I cover space as optimally as possible, which is also why Byleth fits him, because she's slow as fuck, but it doesn't matter because sword big. But Light, kind of like on the opposite side of the spectrum, says, okay, space, I traverse that. Timing, I control that. And that's how he goes about it. It's like, okay, well, you can react to me because that's the way that time works in this situation. Which means that I can force you to react to what I'm showing you, which again gives him control over the whole temporal. In other words, Light is Doctor Strange. But jokes aside,
Time
like
Stone.
he's really good.
Yeah,
Exactly,
definitely
Time Stone. Get
100%.
it. He's really good at exactly that, and that is also why, like, and this is like a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's really interesting. Is that like he gets you in these situations where you feel comfortable with the timings he's establishing, where again, like he doesn't just dash in and dash attack you, right? That's not how he establishes his burst. He dashes in and then he sets up his pressure with the timing mix-ups that he has, and that's also why people feel comfortable to leave and then they get up smashed, which is how he lands all of those like super rude up smashes that come out of nowhere. Which, by the way, fun fact, Fox's up smash is called flip kick, which, who has the best flip kicks in New England? Now you don't know. It's either Mars or Light. Anyway, yeah, I think it's really fascinating how he, in that sense, to me at least, the way I contextualize it is in a lot of ways kind of the opposite of Leo, where they both take the same concepts of time and space, but they focus on entirely different things. Right, Tony?
I was thinking a very mean Mars joke.
Oh
Oh,
no.
okay. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, come on, man. I
I'm
love
not
that
gonna.
guy.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I
he's my
love that
favorite
guy.
content creator, bro.
I love him, dude.
His flip kicks, oof, they're
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Both deadly flip kicks for sure.
Yes,
Both deadly
definitely,
flip kicks.
definitely deadly flip kicks. I do
Deadliest.
love Ramsey that you were calling also as well Spargo, right? Because definitely when it comes to people who essentially just like the speedsters, right, and like kind of top level gameplay right now, it's really Spargo and like a Light. I feel like they're just so good at that. Light's made remarks on it as well, like even at somebody who was talking about it in terms of like how he feels that Spargo really like plays in a very similar fashion, where he's like in this kind of generations, like they are just their tempos, their setups in these kind of generations, they're just so quick at it, and they know how to lure people in these certain circumstances where they think they can react to this, but really can't, and all this mix-ups. Where it's like it's just so hard for people, right? Like, where they just have to like escape. Like, I just can't be in this general range, otherwise this dude's just gonna just trash me, right? Um, and so yeah, I love that you brought that up as well. One thing I wanted to talk about too, I know Charles and I talked about this a little bit at MomoCon, but also just kind of this Fox is starting to use like fair and stuff more as well, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
how that's kind of been really big in that space in terms of now having like at least in my eyes, right? Like having that capacity to have a little bit more horizontal spacing, get these kind of combos there. Getting some of these early percents, like getting the fair into up air and whatnot. But it seems like that's also been really impactful too to kind of close out the overall combo game. And I think the better that Light gets at this combo game with Fox, it's just less interactions, right? That he needs to have, to just kind of get those dubs. And you've seen that. Like he's so many times it's like, dude, now it's just like it's down to like him getting these like 2.5 like interactions, and it's like cool. Now you're just at kill percent, you're dead. Like that's it. And that's a big deal against someone who's so damn fast and has those quick tempo changes, because you just don't get enough time to really see those patterns. Because already, even if he may be hitting this same tempo, like Tony's point, he's shifting the particular moves that he's using. So it's not really easy for the eye to catch, especially when someone's moving at that kind of speed in the first place. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to hear from you guys, like, what do you think about his kind of usage of fair and kind of like the advancement of his combo game? Because I do think overall that's improved as well.
Well, I think fair in particular is one of my personal favorite things that he's added to his game now. That's I don't know that I could really call it like new in the past few months. He's been doing it for a little while, but
Mhm.
more of what he originally started using it for to begin with is whenever there is a character like Fox that gives you such small windows to execute responses. Like for example, you'll still see people with punishing Fox's Nair, and they'll do it because they know that if he's jumping in, he's looking for Nair generally, and you don't usually care if he gets like a high fair just because he doesn't get follow ups off of it, and so people will space just out of Nair, which is right where fair hits. And so what you'll see is people will start getting ready to whiff punish his Nair, and then that foot comes out and he'll catch you with the opening hits, which actually do combo into follow ups, and then he'll combo those into back air, up air, and they don't even necessarily need to combo. They just need to give him enough frame advantage that he can get out whatever kill move he wants to put out, and get that before they can get out their mash aerial, because Fox's movement stats are so fast that his kill moves can frame trap your air dodge to hit you with a kill move.
Yep.
So he doesn't actually have to combo. He can just trap you there, and that's very reminiscent of what later stage Smash 4 Fox could do. That we eventually have figured that out, but that's something that only comes with true character mastery, and that's a very universal Smash skill. Is just being able to turn in these soft advantages into very tangible punishes. And I think that something else that really comes down to is one of the distinguishing features that kind of highlights Light apart from other top 10 players is his solo character usage, because there's so many players at that level who use multiple characters, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the Foxes are both solo mains. So the it's just picking up those small little nuances on those small little timings are just important things that aren't usually worth investigating if you're looking for like, well, what character do I even want to play on this stage to begin with, because Light already knows that going in. What he's looking at is, well, what am I going to do when they drift away from this one full hop Nair that I just killed them with last time? So
Yeah.
I think that kind of circles back, and I believe Bam, you mentioned the Buzz was trying to react to his backers. I was actually watching his Rosa specifically react to one of Light's recoveries, and he goes out to backer it, and he was just like I think it was like 8 frames too slow. And so he was to backer, Light crosses him up and then kills him for it. And the Buzz looked like he just opened himself up out of nowhere when Fox was in disadvantage. But the reality is the Buzz was right. He was just wrong on timing, just very slightly. So,
Yeah. And to
cool.
that point, I think a lot of what it comes down to for Light, we talked about this before, but just like talking about the fair, right? A lot of Light is kind of like establishing that burst range, that burst zone, which forces the opponents to preempt. And like Tony said, like if you're preemptively trying to whiff punish an air and out comes a forward air, you're wrong. And being wrong against a glass cannon means you're gonna get shot by the cannonball. And that's just my opinion on fair is like it gives him another cannonball to deal with people preemptively moving around him. And I think the more of that you have, the better. I think the hard thing for Light that I think is super impressive is that like because you're a glass cannon, if you get caught in a situation not playing an RPS that your opponent is playing, that has huge consequences. So it's important for Light to understand like what are the RPSs that are like my opponent is playing, so I can play them with him, as well as figuring out what they're not playing so he can play better than them. And that is something that excuse me, that Light does, I think, better than almost any player, even at the top. Is like he's very aware of what RPSs he wants to play and which one he can afford to not play if he doesn't need to.
Yeah, 100%, man. I feel like even like once he finishes his like combos, right? Like he's just really good at kind of these soft like reset situations and like where he can put himself in those positions to suggest certain things to people, right? And then like that's kind of how he's able to like get the ball rolling, right? So it's like a combination of these true combos, and then immediately like he's so good at ending his strings essentially on the good spot to be appropriate positioning and to suggest like certain like retaliation, right? And certain like potential reversals to come out of his opponent.
Right.
And time and time again, man, like you'll just see him snowball. Like I feel like every time you see his stock, it's never just a combo reset to neutral. Like he's always in a situation like combo. Now it's like you're kind of close. Maybe you can do something. Oh crap! Well, I'm at 90 something. Oh damn! I just lost my stock, and he just blows through stocks that way.
Yep.
Time and time again because of that.
Yeah, and going back to fair, there's actually, I think the main thing about fair that's important is the nair situation Tony talked about, where you have that additional range and you punish, because to punish a whiff nair, since auto L cancels on in this game, you have to be very close to Fox, right? And I mean, Fox can just go into shield. Fox has a very threatful shield because, well, one, he has up smash out of shield, and his out of parry is probably like some of the best in the entire game in terms of like what the character gets out of parry, right? So the main thing you got to understand though with fair is if you DI away on a grounded fair, you don't get a follow up, right? So what Light will do is he waits to the very last second. So not as experienced foxes, they'll like short hop and then like drift into you, and they'll maybe pop the fair and get like 2 to 3 kicks in, right? Light, he'll sometimes do that, but most of the time when he pops his fair, he's getting one single hit of the fair, and then like it's already like that's the grounded hit already, and then you get the launch. Now, very similar to down tilt, if you down tilt with no, if someone has no DI or DI in, you can down tilt in up air. If you DI down tilt away, you usually have to settle for like an up smash, a forward air, right? But with fair, it's kind of like even worse of an angle if they DI away. But Light combos off of fair into either another fair or an up air because he's catching them with no DI. Because he's waiting for the very last second. Because if you're standing there waiting to whiff punish, your stick's in neutral, right? So because your stick's in neutral and you don't want to move, but he's tricking you because you really think that nair is coming out, but he just has that little, not even a little, it like forward air's hitbox in this game particularly, I feel like it feels larger than the other games. And that, I think that's a big reason why it took the Fox community like 2 to 3 years to even really try and experiment with that move, is because usually it's not even that big of a move, but in this game I feel like it's pretty large. So that grounded situation around nair is very important, and even if they DI correctly, you get a platform tech chase. And a platform tech chase with Fox is guaranteed like 3 to 4 up airs if the Fox is on point. All Fox does is dash into the platform, they miss the tech, up air. You hit the tech, up air. You tech roll, react, up air. Like it, I don't know if I want to say it's 100% chance, but it's like a very good chance that Fox is going to up air you like 2 to 3 times at least. And if this happens at 0, that's very important because another thing that is not so strong about Fox at 0% specifically is you generally can't up tilt. Up tilt is your frame 3 boxing option behind you. A lot of characters, like when you think about Fox, it's fucking insane that he has a frame 2 option in front and then a frame 3 option behind, right? Not a lot of characters have that kind of options with normals that combo, right? So, but you don't have access to up tilt unless you're fighting a floaty at 0. If you're fighting a floaty, you can up tilt them at 0 and it's party time. It's like, oh, this is the dream. I spam up tilt and then I do whatever after, right? But against fast fallers or normal characters, you want to get that like 15 to 30% threshold, and fair particularly gets Fox to this specific percent threshold. So if you get the forward air and then you get the up air strings off the platform tech chase, you're fine. If you call out someone, everybody loves jumping in this game, right? So if Fox does a full hop fair, which you see Light do a ton at 0, you get to combo into up air.
Yep.
And they're at 30% after those 2 moves connect. You don't get
Right, and
anything
the up
after.
tilt, yeah.
Now up tilt's online. This is so important for Fox gameplay, right? Because now you understand where it's like before Fox, what was you couldn't even get Sour Nair at 0. Like Sour Nair at 0 and up tilt are going to not be live at the start of the game at go, and that happens every game. So that's like a very consistent situation where it's like, oh shit, I can't Sour Nair. So usually Fox will go for like hard nair grab, hard nair jab, run up jab, back air dash tech. These are all moves or like setups that you want, or just a grab. But then the grab doesn't put you at 30, right? So that's why fair is so strong. And like I think fair usage, as like dumb as it sounds, is like one of the most pivotal things in Fox's meta because it puts characters in a percentage where it makes his entire kit live. Because when Fox's entire kit is live and you can't get hit by Sour Nair and you can't get hit by up tilt now, all of a sudden this character is a lot more threatful, right? Because even you got to think if Fox parries you but you cross him up and he parry up tilts autopilot and it's negative on hit, like now all of a sudden he doesn't have access to parry up tilt, right? And parry up tilt is like extremely strong because it should technically hit almost everything as long as they're like at the first part of up tilt, because you get 3 frames of intangibility from parry and then up tilt comes out on frame 3, right? So there's even multi-hit moves like Byleth Nair that you can parry up tilt and you hit the up tilt. Worst thing that happens is you trade, which you'll take that anyway, or you just beat it out and up tilt and combo Byleth off of like a high up tilt, right? So forward air particularly is insanely good. And then past that, I actually think that Light sticking it out in his bad matchups has helped his Fox overall with his strategy, because especially in MomoCon I saw, and I mean he's been getting a lot better at this, but for example, Game & Watch is a character where I'm just going to go over quickly what Foxes like don't want to fight. Fox, we talked about earlier, you want to fall on top of your opponent with arrows, right? Now, imagine a character like Game & Watch where you run up, you're scared of dash tech, so Game & Watch shields. You jump up, and you're like, all right, time to like do my Fox shit, right? And then Game & Watch is like, nope, fuck you, up B, out of shield, on reaction, combo you to 50, you're still getting juggled, holy crap, whatever, right? So it's like these types of characters that have those kinds of options are going to be very threatful to Fox. I'm just going to bring up, I'm not going to go over every single character, but Game & Watch is like a very prime example of like a character that can shut down Fox's win condition on reaction without having Fox forcing him to guess in that particular situation, right? So what Light has to do in that matchup, get a shitload of grabs, put him on the ledge, not even really ledge trap him, kind of sort of ledge trap him, but essentially corner him with back air. That's like literally Fox Game & Watch. Grabs, corner with back air, right? Now, if you notice at MomoCon specifically, Fox is deadly in ledge trapping for damage, and he didn't use any back airs for ledge trapping damage. He saved it for the KO, and once his opponent got to like 120-ish, 130-ish, Fox takes a step back. He's by roll. It's like, I'm out of range of any ledge drop, double jump aerial you can do. You have to ledge jump and hold like my up air pressure, or you normal get up into the corner, and we're going to start playing back air simulator. And if I hit the back air, you're dead. And I really think that Fox used to get reversaled a lot on the ledge in general because I feel like when you migrate from Smash 4 Fox to Ultimate Fox, you like felt like you had the right to have ledge trap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like most Fox players is like, this is where I win. I've been doing this for fucking years, right? So
Yep.
now really understanding the character, and I feel like Light having to go through some of these bad matchups where it's like, yeah, I just have to corner. Like, I think it's nowadays Fox's win conditions, I won't say are solved, but they're very more clear cut in a way, right? Where at least
They're polished as
Much
hell
more
for
refined.
sure.
yes,
much
yes,
more
like the
refined,
Fox meta is
100%.
a lot more refined, which is why I think Tony bringing up that players, it's not enough to know the Fox matchup anymore. Like, and honestly, I'm not trying to like flame anyone, but like the Buzz falling for that like trick for the ledge trump into double jump back air like that many times, and this is not the first tournament Light has been doing that. I'm actually really surprised of all the players, the Buzz was the one that fell for that so many times because Light's been doing that for quite a while now. I complimented him on it, but he like kind of laughed. He's like, "I've been doing it for a while," and I'm like, I know." And he's just like, "I don't know why people are getting it, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's a very simple thing because I mean there are other options that can get covered, but it really goes to show because when I watched Leo at Genesis Fight Light, I just could tell that Leo came very prepared for that matchup, right? I don't think Light was particularly playing well in that set. I think that set would have gone a little different if Light was playing a little bit better. But Leo was playing really well, and Leo studied the shit out of the Light VODs. I could just tell. So, I mean, and that, I expect nothing less from the best player in the world, right? Incredibly talented, but he also knows, like, that talent doesn't fog his ego to the point where it's like, oh, I just lost to that dude. Like, I'll just beat him next time. It's Fox, fuck it, right? Like, no, Leo studied the VODs and, like, studied like all these rhythms and all these like light specific things that we're talking about. He went over them and he studied them, right? So
Yeah.
very impressive. And players, you are forced to do that. You can't just know how to edge guard Fox or two frame Fox and beat Light anymore. His neutral is way too strong, and I feel like Light has really honed the Fox meta to a point where it's, I won't say it's like flowchart, but he won't get reversaled in situations that he shouldn't and just like die at 50. Because that was the
Yep.
Fox Classic in
Yep.
in the beginning of the meta, where it's like they're Foxes were still trying to figure out like where exactly they win and where they exactly they're supposed to take stocks. Get reversaled at 40, they have rage, you're fucking dead. Like you just died at some dumb percent off stage or whatever, right? Obviously it's still your fault, but it's like a lot of it felt like Foxes didn't know exactly when and where they were the strongest and where their win condition are. And now Light has kind of laid the schematics out. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, all right, yep, this, like 120, don't sail back here. Now they're in the corner, right? Because they let you grab them 5 times, and then boom, all right, we're here. Because you let me grab me, I grabbed you once, put you on the ledge, spam there at ledge, racked you up to like 120, and we like that was happening to the Buzz. You know,
Yeah.
even outside of the whole like fast fall ledge trump fake into the back air, like the Buzz is just taking a crap ton of damage on the ledge because Fox can do that with nairs and stuff, but he just can't close out stocks on the ledge like he could in Smash 4. So instead of in that phase of the ledge trap, you just go to roll and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna corner instead. So I think Light has done an amazing job, and I think a big part of that is him being forced to play like that in really shitty matchups, and then Light's kind of like, oh, well, I can kind of like apply this to every matchup, right? You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
kind of, I think that helped him a lot. And again, to Tony's point of that only happens when you solo main a character for the entire length of the game. Like
Yeah.
Light has been playing this character since day one, and the only time we've seen a pocket come out from him is like desperation, fuck it, I lose anyway, wolf, right? Like we've seen those sets coming out from him, but like 99.9% of the time, Light's playing Fox. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you guys feel about like that whole perspective.
No, I for one agree, and it's like I think that like you said, Tony said it already, but it is when you get to a certain level of mastery is when you can really dive into those nuances, right, and get really granular with it. And there is a flaw at times of like looking to play multiple characters, right? You only have so much bandwidth as a person, right? And there's only so many times you're going to go through these different experiences and really go down to the details, you know, when you're playing multiple characters versus when you're playing one. So absolutely, like for sure, that's going to be a big one. And it's just like you said like Light, yeah, he's looking so much more refined. I remember when we're on commentary, like I kept talking about like it's his defense, man. Like he's not in those places where he's gonna get sham wild. Like he knows. Like he's just like, all right, like he's not going for like, oh, but if I catch them dying bad though at that corner, like, but if I just get a rando up smash, like, nah, dude, if my backer doesn't kill right now, I'm not throwing that out. I'm not doing with that, right? I know I just need a few more percent. Oh wow, lo and behold, now it's actually online. And I think that it's so good to see that level of mastery because I still feel like there's certain times when people are going for these little things. It's like that wouldn't even kill there. Like that, like or like why would you even use your option there? That doesn't make sense, right? But he's really gotten to a point where he's really like the discipline. Like he's just been very very disciplined on like he knows his ins, he knows his outs, he knows his win conditions, and he follows them, right? Like Ramses was saying, like systematically, like he is following them, right? And he's doing that while having proper mix-ups. Like they're not like, oh, hey, well, if you don't know the game, then you're just getting hit by that. Like they're like really solid, like airtight mix-ups that he's doing, and he's just like he's sticking to those strategies, right? And he's accepting the places where he's gonna have those flaws, and leaves it be, right? And he's mitigating them by just simply leaving it alone. And I love that, right? We still have some people trying to be the hero, right? So, oh, I'm just going to go for this cool shit, or I'm going to go for this thing here. And, this sometimes just works because people don't DI right, Like, I feel like, put it this way, I feel like right now, the way I'm seeing from Light, like if Light was playing Palu, he wouldn't be going for that like down throw back air that's not going to hit unless someone's just like DIing like a clown. Like that's the type of level he's playing right now. He's going like, I know what's real, I know what's not, all right, and I'm gonna go for 100% what's real, and the clean mix-ups are real. I'm not going for the haha, you didn't know the matchup, so I'm just gonna do this, whatever. And I think that really is exemplified in this play. And again, his defense, I feel like, has been incredible. Yeah, I have not seen him lose stocks at like these like 50% in this craziness, right? Even some of the edge guards we've seen for some people, like it's like he's been pretty good at like getting by them, right? One of the things like the Buzz usually, especially with this Rosa and this Rosa as a character in general, really good at edge guarding. And like even Tony was his point, like the Buzz was very close to getting that one, right? Like you're saying, like he was just like a few frames away there. But it's like outside of that, I just didn't really see that all too often, right? And it's like part of that was he was like already going into it, like understanding like if I lose this situation here and here, now I'm probably gonna be off stage and be in a bad situation. Like how do I mitigate that already? Right? It's not like, oh, let me think about that now when it's happening, when I'm in the air and I'm just screwed. And I think that goes a very long way, especially for a character like Fox, because dude, if Fox is on the stage, like, and he's able to zoom around you, like he's good. He's eating pretty,
It's
right?
really good, yeah.
Really, really good. The character's like main flaws, of course, like we talk about it, is like, yeah, being light, and then it's like, dude, being off stage. But he's
Being
just
light.
been, yeah, like you know,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just so vital to think those things two steps ahead because that's your lose condition, right? He's just very aware of his lose condition as well as his win condition, and that's why he's been playing at this level. And I do believe that this is not a high of light. I feel like this is his new normal, and that's what I think is very scary about him right now. Like I don't. It's not just like I don't know. I feel like he's playing solid. He's going to play like this. That's how I see
He's
it
been
right
very
now.
consistent as of late.
Yes, very very consistent.
I think your point, Bam, just kind of like proves Tony's point earlier where he said like if a character is fast enough, they'll be good. And what you're saying is like, yeah, instead of dealing with a problem as it comes up, he's positioning preemptively to avoid a worst case situation like that. He's avoiding the offstage weakness by picking what options he's allowing himself to get hit by. And that just goes to show like if you have the movement to be able to do that preemptively, your character is really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I think that connection makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so we're about an hour in, so I don't know if you guys had any more closing thoughts on Fox, but for me, I pretty much said like all the major things that I felt kind of fluctuated the strength of the character, whether it be like character-wise or player-wise. But do you guys have any other closing thoughts?
I'd say that one of the bigger things that Light does that we didn't really get into, you touched on it with forward air, but specifically how he navigates the frame disadvantage of having fast normals that don't combo into follow-ups. and that is also in conjunction with the mentioned is how strong shield is. And so essentially what he realized is that sometimes I don't have enough time to get in that frame 2 jab, or it's going to have a negative trade, but I have a frame 1 ground option in shield, and I have one of the better out of shield games. And even if I can't necessarily punish what they're doing out of shield, generally the things that he can just drop shield and dash attack to call out their follow-up position. And then whatever he hit them with the first time is probably going to set them up so the dash attack now works, because generally dash attack is also fairly negative, but then around the 10% range, that'll start setting up so that even if it doesn't true combo into up tilt, it'll usually frame trap, and then he'll just go for like a turnaround jab or something that also catches neutral air dodge. So I think that the mix-ups of the way Light plays 0% is very important to his progression in his performances. And like Bam said, his are very consistent. He's consistently placing in this top 8 range, and not just top 8, but usually the top 5, top 6 area of whichever event that he's entering into. And so it's obviously paying off for him. I would like to see his opponents playing with that same respect for 0% and recognizing that that is essentially a different character than the rest of the game. That he doesn't actually have these big hitboxes that are going to go above your shield and be safe on hit. It's one or the other. He has to pick it. So Fox is shoehorned into using the latest possible landing aerials so that they'll true combo into things like jab, like you mentioned before, with like landing nair. He can't use weak nair. He can't use full hop nairs. Things like that aren't going to work. So it's a lot easier to catch Fox in little bottleneck areas than it is for the rest of his play. He can't move into as many places. He can't burst out and strike at you. Like his range is greatly reduced because the biggest reaching things he has, like his dash attacks, his Fox illusion, those things aren't what he wants to be hitting you with at 0. So the way he's going to play is different, and people need to recognize that. People need to exploit that. I think that Light's offstage habits in particular, he has very set systems on what he's spacing around. So I would like to see top players focusing on that a little bit more. I would like to see people managing their shield tilt game in order to throw off his nair. Obviously, one of the top players who are consistently beating Light right now is like Gluto, and he's very privileged because he has a frame 6 up B out of shield. And so him being able to actually throw off and punish Light for his full hop aerials is allowing him to do that. But even if you can't do that, you can usually still manage to use your out of shield options to shut off Light's looping pressure, like him going for double back airs, things like that. And I would like to see people actually punishing Fox's up tilt. So if you didn't know, Fox up tilt is extremely unsafe on block. It's a lot less unsafe on whiff because he just moves so fast. But people tend to not punish Light's up tilts on whiff. Just because he plays so fast that people tend to get paralyzed and caught up in their own heads. So I would like to see people practice reacting to and responding to those things. Aside from that, we already know how Fox goes. He's very good on stage. He's very good at following you, chasing you, catching your defensive options. Even when he swings at your dodge, he'll still hit you. Things like that we already knew. And then he's supposed to die when you touch him. So his ability to choose his hits, like you guys mentioned, I would like to see people pushing what he's choosing to accept. And when he's like going really high and just saying, listen, I'm going to let you juggle me, just don't put me off stage. I would like to see people converting their juggle setups into off stage to put him back off, or to capitalize on working on how to turn those juggle combos into KO combos. I recall seeing the Buzz getting a Rage Luma up air setup from the ledge to punish Light for just that, and he KO'd him at mid percent, still got in that cheese kill off the top. So I would like to see things like that. Specifically for his bracket, I think that I would like to see the Buzz using things like Olimar, because they actually played back at Genesis, and the Buzz did take a game off of him with Olimar. The Buzz, I believe, took a game off of him with Min Min, so I'd like to see him implement those. We didn't see his Sora at all at MomoCon, to my knowledge. We didn't really see his Olimar either. So multi-character mastery is its own subject. So I doubt that it's a coincidence that the Buzz wasn't using them. I think it has to do with his preparation for the event, what he was expecting. So I would like to see the Buzz his character roster against Light specifically differently. Obviously, Sonic's versus Light. That's the first time we've seen Light versus a tippy top Sonic. So that was good to see. I'm actually curious how the other Sonics are going to go about that in the future. But other than that, that's the majority of what I recall seeing from Light at MomoCon. Aside from that, though, outstanding player. Definitely going to keep going up, like Bam said. I'm really interested because I personally am planning to study him a lot more in the future, expand my understanding on Smash is a timing game, and there's no greater master on the planet, in my opinion, than Light at that.
Bam, Ramses.
I'll just say my few things. I think uh overall I just have to agree with Tony in terms of how great of a player Light is. I think the thing that I think is most impressive about Light is that he took a playstyle that most people wrote off and he brought it to the forefront of the meta. No one believed in aggressive play in Ultimate. Seeing how much closer and closer it got to the pace of Smash 4, which to be fair, like wasn't slow, but it wasn't fast. But Light just sticking to his guns, understanding something that other people didn't, right? Which is the inherent pressure of that, like, I can react, but can I do something about it? Not really. Kind of like that area that you have, and something that Spargo is building upon now as well, though in a bit of a more reserved way, which makes sense given that his main example was Leo, and Light is just doing his own thing. I want to give a shout out to Paseriman, because I feel like we haven't really touched upon his gameplay a lot, which is understandable. He doesn't really get a lot of spotlight, but I personally feel like, I personally think, or let me rephrase that. It looks like Light has taken some of his ideas from Paseriman, because if I look at the way Paseriman plays and I look at Light's biggest improvements, I think what really pushed Light into like this level is that instead of just thinking about how he's going to hit his opponent, he starts kind of like weighing that against how he's going to get hit, which is something we talked about a bit. And that balance that turns him in, like, he used to be a glass cannon and now he's a glass cannon that is zooming all over the stage and you cannot actually hit the glass cannon, so it never shatters. And I think a lot of that is from or a lot of the ways that he does that is things that I've seen with Paseriman. So either that's convergent evolution or smart stealing. Either way, I'm a big fan. Because like in Japan, right, they play like a lot of best of three, so you have like you don't get the room to be a glass cannon. If you're a glass cannon, you don't get far in bracket. You have best of threes as Fox, like, you know. So in that way, like Paseriman has naturally developed a style that is more more about being less glass, but also a little bit less cannon. And Light really pushed that, combined that with what he already knows, and what you see is this result. And I think that is also like understanding more about that, like not getting hit. Also helps him understand what mix-ups he has to punish people for trying to hit him. Because at the end of the day, like we talked about the forward air, like the forward air it's not an aggressive mix-up, it's an anti-aggression mix-up, right? Like instead of them getting a whiff on the fair, they get caught by the boots, right? So in a way, the only way that you can come to that conclusion is by understanding how someone's trying to hit you. And it sounds like very straightforward, but when you spend that much of your time and effort and talent and thinking on perfecting your aggression and being like the perfect mix-up machine with no holes in your pressure, which is by all means basically what Light has done. It's hard to kind of like step back and look at it from that perspective, but he did so, and that's, I think, a huge part of what got him where he is right now. Another thing that I think is really worth noticing, or really worth mentioning, I should say, is the out of shield game, because I think Fox surface level doesn't really have amazing out of shield. He has good parries and good up smash, both of which are circumstantial at best. But he kind of has the thing where the same thing as Joker, where his full hop is like his best out of shield option. Where like Joker has, I think most fastballs are 60%. His is like 90%, something like that. So he has one of the best fastballs in the game, very similar to Fox. they basically had to use full hops out of shield as sort of like a spot dodge cancel, where you hit their shield, they jump over. If you, let's say you do like Cloud Becker and you try to do like a forward tilt to follow it up, you jump over to forward tilt, you come down with an aerial, and in that sense, you're dodging a move, you're coming back with an attack, but in a way less committal way. Joker players, ever since MK Leo popularized it, spam that shit out of shield because it's broken as fuck. Because the only way you really beat it is by like calling out the full hop, right? Because if you don't call it the full hop, he just lands with the save aerial. And that's something that Light's been doing as well. You full ups out of shield, goes over your move, and then comes back down with pressure, and then you get like the down air again, blah blah. So in that sense, again, shielding in this game is super broken. Don't underestimate that. And Light making really great use out of the properties that Fox has, using shield as an offensive tool in the right situations, which is something that a lot of people can learn from. But also in terms of defense, not just looking at it as a dead end in terms of defense, but also as an opportunity to restart your offense. Like, for example, what Tony said, just shield drop dash attacking, which again, shield drop is a tool that people don't use a lot in this game because, oh, well, it's 4 frames laggier than in Smash 4, unusable. Whereas in reality, right, it's still like a dash attack out of shield for Fox, that's like frame 15. That's not fast, but like most follow-ups, you're going to get caught, trying to dash away. So I really like that about Light. It's that idea that like he is defensive, but he's not defending to get around you. He's defending because he wants to mess you up in a different way. I really enjoy that about him, and I think in that sense he's really unique. And there's players that do that as well, like MK Leo, but in like way different degrees. So next time you're looking at Light, I urge you to look at how he turns his defense into aggression. I think that is, to me, one of my favorite things about watching Light. I think it's really impressive how he always manages to not even reversal you, but understand what his advantages are.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just say like a few things. Me overall, kind of as a like player and just like how I've always looked at the game, like I always love aggressive play, and I feel that like
Sonic main, by the way.
Yeah, Sonic main, by the way. Trust me, it's very counterintuitive in my Brawl days. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, hey, some of it works somehow. I don't know why, but that's another story. Yeah, that's a whole another story. But it's good to see that. I think one of the biggest things when you are looking at aggression, right, is like again putting yourself in places where if you do. How do you still continue to approach and find places that are advantage while mitigating that risk, right? And I think that you're seeing that a lot from Light. Kind of all of us have been talking about this whole time. How he's been putting himself in these appropriate positions where he's essentially picking the good poison, right? The poison that's not gonna you're not gonna die at 20. Yeah, maybe you'll die at 90 or 100, whatever it may be. But like I'll take that, right? I'll take that. And that to me, his discipline is the most important part. I think that a lot of times when people want to play aggressive, they just kind of start throwing out stuff. They get sloppy. They want the dream. They want to go in hero mode and this and that. But he's been so disciplined well throughout. Again, I can't speak for Light, but I do recall sometimes hearing Light talking about how he doesn't really have anyone to look to as far as players to learn from. So seeing kind of the changes that have happened in his playstyle now could be Persimmon, like you were saying, Ramses. It could be very easy that he did. Now that he found someone that's like, okay, at least I can learn something from. Maybe there's certain things there I can take and adopt and go from there, right? Only Light has answers, or people he's talked to on that. But I have heard him say that a time before, a way back before we kind of saw this shift in his playstyle. So. Yeah, could be, But again, I'm really excited to see this play. I'm excited also that you're seeing it. We're seeing it in like kind of Spargo in a way too, and how he approaches the game. And I do hope to see the meta move forward in that way. Now that people are getting to a point where they're, combo games being optimized and like positional advantage is being optimized, right? Where people need to start looking at combos, and to the point, the counter options on Fox in general too are the same thing, right? Like, know where, like, why? Not just that you're doing damage, like outside of the damage, why are you comboing in the way that you're comboing, right? There's so many times when people are doing these combos, and it's like, dude, why are you trying to juggle this character? this character, especially like Fox, right? I can't stand seeing people like comboing Fox and then like they have an opportunity to get the character off stage and they go for juggle situations. Like, all right, dude, go ahead and do that. Get air dodge fast and use your air dodge fast fold on and then get reversaled and eat a ton of damage, right? Like, understand that it's a very, very strong option and Fox has like the best one, like period. Like that's
Yeah.
it. Like, stop dealing with that. Recognize the power of it. Like certain situations, yeah. If that's all you can end your combo off with, then whatever, right? But even then, too, it's like if that's the only one, like maybe just drop it early, right? They're at a lower position. Now it's a harder mix-up. You go from there. But I think people need to get to the point where they're really figuring out like their positional advantage right after these combos, right? Or these follow-up strings. And it's like when you start doing that, then you get in a better place. And I think that's what I think that's what Light is doing really well. I think even like Spargo too, he does that really well. That's a lot of times he does that and he sets up these combos in situations where now he can switch to Pyra and now he's in perfect position to do something and jam you for it. But even like Leo, like he'll set up these strings and it's like he puts you in situations where it's like, oh, if you're going to reversal here or you do something like, oh, dude, now I just robbed your stock. And everyone's like, how did this happen? It's like these guys are really thinking about what the next step is out of these combo strings rather than just, I did damage, now let me go back into play, right? There is opportunities in this game to reposition yourself after these. And if you're thinking about how these combo routes are going to really be like effective and really just whittle down these stocks. And I think that's how this game gets faster. I think that's how people just optimize the game and we get to that next level of the meta, and you're starting to see that from some of the players, and I think we're definitely seeing that from Light. So kudos to him, man. Again, really loving the overall play I'm seeing from him. I'm loving the combo game. I'm loving the discipline. That to me is the biggest thing, because that is what takes you far. The combos alone aren't going to be enough, right? And it's like, dude, like it. What can I say, man? I just hope to see it more. It's really exciting to watch. It's really fun to play. And I do hope that players recognize now that they can't just go in there and hope for the best. They really got to get down and dirty now, too, and really do the same kind of level of work to get to the places that they need to go.
It's homework.
It's homework, man. We got to get homework. People are getting serious about the game. And I love seeing that. Like, people are getting to the point where it's like, all right, I got to optimize, dude. What else can I add to my character? Across the board, even against some people who aren't even as technical as players. Like you're seeing them like forcing themselves, like, hey, we need to get there. So yeah, I just want to see more of that from people. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout outs to Light, good friend of mine since Smash 4. Always like talking to him about the game in general, and then obviously both our favorite characters are Fox, so always love talking about Fox with him, always trying to think about like just ways to bounce around ideas to make the character stronger, and he's just done an amazing job at doing exactly that. And shout out to the other Foxes as well, Preseri Man, even Luis when he brings out the Fox for specific matchups, and all the other Foxes that are trying to push the character. Very hard character to play, but obviously if you're on point, if you put in the work, that's like characters like Fox, right? Got to put in that little extra work, but a little bit more satisfying for some, or most, I should say, when executed well. So, yeah, I love this discussion. Obviously, I love talking about Fox. So, even commentating MomoCon was super sick for me because I got to commentate Fox.
We noticed the
man.
enthusiasm was palpable.
We still
Chuck Nasty was happy. He's still happy, dude.
That's one thing I'll say. If Fox is on the screen, I'm like, I don't know if any commentator can match the energy, man. That's like the one character that just like powers me up. I'm like, ah.
You're so hyped.
All right, well, that'll be it for us. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and if you got anything to say about Fox, if you agreed with us, if you disagreed with us, let us know in the comments. Or if there's any other player / character you guys want us to talk about, let us know in the comments as well. But until next time, class dismissed.